Today we're learning lesson 6.4 on rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. Just a heads up of where we're heading toward. We've got 2 lessons left this year with trapezoids on 6.5 and 6.6, reasoning about a special quadrilateral before we move on to finals review for semester 1. So starting off, we've got some basic definition of what these shapes are. Rhombus is a parallelogram that has 4 congruent sides. So notice, 4 congruent sides is not a square, it's a rhombus, right? So 4 congruent sides, rhombus. Next, a rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. Notice, it is not opposite sides are equal, but it is a parallelogram, which means opposite sides equal, and 4 right angles, right? So just a little note there, a lot of people get wrecked on the fact that they think opposite sides equal makes it a rectangle. That would be a parallelogram. It needs some right angles, right? Rectangle, right angles. Square is both a rhombus and a rectangle, so it has all angles congruent, or more specifically, all angles right angle, and all 4 sides congruent. So with that, then we can go into some questions here. ABCD is a rectangle. Find the other 2 sides and the other 2 angles, right? So if DC is 8, AB is 8. And again, opposite sides are equal for a parallelogram, right? That's a parallelogram properties are still true in a rectangle, right? Because they are both a parallelogram with right angles. So AB is 8 and AD is 5. Next, we know a rectangle has all right angles, so B and A are both going to be 90 degrees. Next, some extra properties. Rhombus. Actually, these are what they call them. They call them corollaries, even though I just call them definitions. They could be either way. I would say by definition, a rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. So this is just the same information on the earlier slide, repeated as being stated as a corollary rule. Next up, classify the quadrilaterals. So in this picture, we've got 4 right angles. This makes it a rectangle. Now they gave us sides of 5 and 3. We didn't really need that, just giving us the angles is enough. Over here we've got 4 equal sides. That gives us a rhombus. And lastly, we've got 4 right angles. So far it's categorized as a rectangle, but we also have 4 equal sides. So this one's both a rhombus and a rectangle, which we then just call that a square. Next, diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular. Okay, so diagonals are equal in a rhombus. Sorry, perpendicular. Set it backwards. But the next phrase, theorem 611, diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. So again, specific to a rectangle, diagonals are congruent or equal. So we've got diagonals form right angles for a rhombus. Diagonals are equal in a rectangle. So a square would have both of those rules, because a square is a rectangle rule, has all rectangle rules, and has all rhombus rules. PQRS is a rhombus. Find the 3 other sides. Right? So again, knowing that it's a rhombus, all sides equal, then I label all sides equal. And so then PS equals 6. QR equals 6, and RS equals 6. Next, it says solve for X. This is also a rhombus. Right? Maybe even that. ABCD is rhombus. And so what we're doing here is we know that diagonals form a right angle. So then this is a right triangle here. And the 2 smaller angles add up to 90. So you can either do 180 minus the 90 minus 60 should get us our missing angle, or X. Or you could do 90 minus the 60 to find X. because these are going to give us 90 anyway. And so we get x is 30. So you got two different ways. If you have trouble remembering the right triangle rule, you just need to remember the right angle, and triangles add to 180. Next, what is the shape of the frame? Okay. So far with the information we have, we've got opposite sides are equal. And so far with that information, if opposite sides are equal, we are going to have a parallelogram. Now we can do, let's see, we need angles for right angles. So far this is just a parallelogram, which we abbreviate the parallel symbol dash ogram. If the diagonals measure 7.2 inches and 7.4 inches, it's a frame a rectangle. So these don't match. For it to be a rectangle, we need diagonals are equal. And so in this case, if we had two not equal numbers, this would not be a rectangle. Right? Because diagonals aren't equal. 7.2 does not equal 7.4. Smart board being funny. And that wraps up today's lesson. If you've got any questions, homework's right there. Feel free to ask.